The courtroom doors swing open on March 15th, 2023, and Patricia Okonkwo walks out with everything. Every single thing. The Lagos High Court has just handed her the biggest divorce settlement in Nigerian history. 4 billion naira, 3 mansions, 2 hotels, the private jet, the yacht docked in Marina, the art collection worth hundreds of millions, the jewelry that once belonged to queens, everything that her husband, Chidi Okonkwo, built over 27 years of blood and brilliance, now belongs to her. She can taste victory on her tongue like champagne. Her lawyer squeezes her hand and whispers congratulations. Camera flashes explode in her face. Reporters shout questions she doesn't answer. She climbs into the back of her new Mercedes. Technically, it was always hers, according to the judge, and the driver pulls away from the courthouse. Patricia leans back against leather seats and closes her eyes. 23 years of marriage, 23 years of playing the perfect wife, and now, finally, she has won. But here is what Patricia doesn't know yet. Here is what nobody in that courtroom understands. The empire she just claimed isn't what it appears to be. Those hotels aren't just hotels. That art collection isn't just paintings. And the private jet sitting in the hangar at Murtala Muhammad Airport, it hasn't flown a legitimate route in 8 months. What Patricia took in that divorce settlement is so much more dangerous than money. Let's go back. Let's go back to where this story really begins. Because every ending starts somewhere. And this one starts at a party in Victoria Island on a Saturday night in December 1999. Patricia Adeyemi is 24 years old. She works as a secretary at a telecommunications company, living in a one-room apartment she shares with her cousin in Yaba. She wears the same 3 dresses on rotation, washing them by hand every Sunday evening, hanging them to dry on the tiny balcony that overlooks a street market. The party isn't for people like her. It's for executives and investors, people who drive cars that cost more than her annual salary. But her boss needs someone to help coordinate, to make sure the catering runs smoothly, to stand near the entrance with a clipboard and a smile. Patricia agrees, because there's overtime pay, double her usual rate, money she desperately needs. That's where she meets Chidi. He walks in at 9:47 p.m., wearing a suit that fits him like it was sewn onto his body. He's 31 years old, tall, with the kind of confidence that makes people step aside when he moves through a room. He owns a small import business, nothing major yet, just containers of electronics coming in from China and South Korea. But he has plans, big plans. Anyone who talks to him for 5 minutes can feel it radiating off him like heat. Patricia is standing by the bar when he approaches. She's not drinking. She can't afford to buy anything here. And she's working, not a guest. Chidi orders a whiskey and turns to her. His eyes meet hers, and he smiles. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else," he says. Patricia startles. "I'm working, sir." "I'm not a sir. I'm Chidi." He extends his hand. His palm is warm and rough, the hand of someone who has worked with his hands, not just signed papers. "And you are?" "Patricia." They talk for 17 minutes. She shouldn't. She should be checking on the catering, making sure the waiters are circulating properly. But Chidi keeps asking questions, and his attention feels like sunlight after months of rain. He asks where she lives, what she studies. She tells him she finished secondary school but couldn't afford university. He asks what she dreams about. No one has ever asked her that before. "I dream about having enough," she says quietly. "Just enough. A nice place to live. Maybe a small business someday. Nothing crazy." Chidi nods slowly. "Enough is where you start, not where you finish." He asks for her number before he leaves. She writes it on a napkin because she doesn't have business cards. She expects nothing. Men like him don't call girls like her. But he calls the next day, and the day after that. Within a month, they're having lunch every Saturday. Within 3 months, he's taking her to his church. Within 6 months, he asks her to quit her job. He wants to marry her, he says. He wants to build something together. An empire. Not just for him, for them. "I need someone I can trust," Chidi tells her in his small office above a shop in Ikeja. Everyone else wants something from me. You're the only person who sees me, not what I can give you. Patricia says yes. They marry in a small ceremony in August 2000. Her family is suspicious. They whisper that he's too old for her, that he must want something, that girls who marry rich men pay for it later. But Patricia doesn't care. She's in love. Real love. The kind that feels like destiny. The first 5 years are golden. Chidi's business explodes. The containers of electronics multiply. He opens his first warehouse in Apapa, then a second in Aba, then a third in Kano. Money flows in like a river during rainy season. They move from his modest flat to a proper house in Lekki. Patricia gives birth to their daughter, Amara, in 2002. Then their son, Dubem, in 2004. Chidi works 18-hour days, sometimes 20. He comes home exhausted, smelling of diesel fuel and sweat, but his eyes are always alive with plans. He talks to Patricia about everything. The new contracts he's negotiating, the politicians he's meeting, the customs officials who need careful handling. I'm building something permanent, he tells her one night as they lie in bed, Amara asleep between them. Something our children's children will inherit. But Patricia, listen to me. The higher we climb, the more dangerous it becomes. You understand? She nods, but she doesn't really understand. Not yet. In 2007, Chidi buys his first hotel. Not a small guest house. A real hotel with 70 rooms near the airport. He names it the Amara Grand after their daughter. Patricia cries when she sees the sign. This is the life she dreamed about in that one-room apartment in Yaba. This is more than enough. This is abundance. But Chidi isn't satisfied. He buys a second hotel in 2009. Then land, acres and acres of it, on the outskirts of Lagos, where the city is expanding like a living thing. He partners with Chinese investors who want a foothold in West Africa. He opens an office in Dubai, another in Ghana. Patricia manages the home. She raises the children. She hosts dinner parties for Chidi's business associates, serving expensive wine and elaborate meals, while the men talk about deals she doesn't fully comprehend. She decorates the houses, they have 3 now, hiring interior designers who fly in from London and Milan. She collects art because Chidi tells her it's a good investment. Paintings and sculptures that cost millions of naira, pieces she doesn't particularly like, but displays anyway because they signal wealth. She becomes who she needs to be, the billionaire's wife, polished, elegant, perfect. But something shifts in 2015. Chidi becomes distant. He stops telling her about his business. He takes phone calls in other rooms, speaking in low tones she can't hear. He travels more frequently, sometimes for weeks at a time, and when he returns, he smells different. Not like another woman, like fear. Patricia confronts him one evening in November. "What's happening?" she asks. "What aren't you telling me?" Chidi looks at her across the dining table of their Ikoyi mansion. The chandelier above them cost 8 million naira. The table is set with china they've never used. Everything around them screams success. But his eyes are hollow. "Nothing you need to worry about," he says. "Just business pressure, competition, the usual." But it isn't the usual. Patricia can feel it. Something has changed. Something dark has entered their perfect life, moving through their home like smoke, invisible but suffocating. And then, on January 12th, 2016, at 3:47 inches the morning, armed men break down the door of their Ikoyi mansion, and Patricia discovers that everything she thought she knew about her husband was a carefully constructed lie. The sound of splintering wood tears Patricia from sleep. For 3 seconds, she thinks she's dreaming. Then Chidi's hand clamps over her mouth and he's dragging her out of bed, his voice urgent and raw in the darkness. "Don't scream. Don't make a sound." Heavy boots pound up the marble staircase. Voices shout in Yoruba and English. Patricia's heart hammers against her ribs, so hard she thinks it might break through. Chidi pulls her into the walk-in closet, shoving her behind a rack of his suits. Through the slats, she can see their bedroom door explode inward. 6 men pour inside, They're wearing black tactical gear. No police insignia. No badges. Just guns. Big guns. The kind Patricia has only seen in movies. They tear through the bedroom like hurricanes, ripping open drawers, flipping the mattress, shouting words that don't make sense. Where is it? We know you have it. Chidi Okonkwo, come out now or we start with your children. Patricia's blood turns to ice water. Amara is 14. Dubem is 12. They're sleeping down the hall in rooms decorated with posters and dreams. Chidi's hand tightens on her shoulder. Then he steps out of the closet, hands raised. I'm here. I'm here. Don't touch my family. The largest man, built like a truck, grabs Chidi by the throat and slams him against the wall. The shipment from Cotonou. Where is it? I don't know what you're talking about. The man hits him. The sound of fist-meeting face is wet and terrible. Patricia bites her own hand to keep from screaming. Blood sprays across their cream-colored carpet. 30 kilograms, the man says. 30 kilograms that belong to people you don't steal from. You have 48 hours to return it, or your family disappears. Not dies, disappears. You understand the difference? Chidi spits blood. It wasn't me. I swear on my children's lives. I was robbed. The container was hijacked at the port before I could. Another punch. Chidi crumples to the floor. The men search for 11 more minutes. They find nothing. They leave the same way they came, like violent ghosts. The front door hangs off its hinges. Cold January air rushes through the house. Patricia crawls out of the closet on shaking legs. Chidi is curled on the floor, blood leaking from his mouth and nose. She kneels beside him, her white nightgown soaking up his blood like paper towels. What have you done? She whispers. What have you done to us? He looks at her through eyes already swelling shut. I built us an empire, he says. But empires are always built on something. You never asked what. That's when Patricia realizes all of it. Every hotel, every mansion, every piece of art, every luxury she wrapped around herself like armor. It all came from somewhere dark. Somewhere that sends men with guns in the middle of the night. The next 48 hours move like a nightmare in slow motion. Chidi makes frantic phone calls. He empties bank accounts. He calls in favors from people Patricia has never heard him mention. He barely sleeps. His face turns purple and yellow from the beating, but he keeps moving, keep working, keep trying to solve a problem Patricia doesn't fully understand. She pulls him aside on the second day. Tell me the truth. All of it. Chidi sits at his desk in his home office, surrounded by documents and burner phones. He looks 10 years older than he did 3 days ago. He looks like he's dying. The electronics, he says quietly. In the beginning, it really was just electronics. Phones, computers, legitimate business. But the profit margins weren't enough. Not for the life I wanted to give you. Not for the empire I promised. So what did you do? I started moving other things. Small things at first. Medications that couldn't be imported legally but that people needed. Then, pharmaceuticals for the black market. Then, other substances. I didn't manufacture anything. I just moved it. Containers from South America through West Africa to Europe. I was just the middleman. Patricia's stomach turns to stone. Drugs? You've been trafficking drugs? Not just drugs. Weapons sometimes. Conflict diamonds when the opportunity arose. Counterfeit currency. Whatever the container could hold. He looks at her with red-rimmed eyes. Do you think legitimate businessmen become billionaires in this country? Do you think anyone gets this rich, playing by rules, written by people who will never let us win? You lied to me. For 16 years you lied. I protected you. If you didn't know, you couldn't be implicated. If you didn't know, you were safe. But Patricia isn't safe. None of them are safe. That becomes clear when Chidi's phone rings at 11:43 p.m. on the second night. He answers, listens. His face goes gray. He hangs up without saying a word. They have Dubem, he says. They took him from school. They say if I don't return the shipment by tomorrow morning, they'll mail him back to us in pieces. Patricia screams. She actually screams, a sound that comes from someplace deeper than her lungs. Amara runs into the office, terrified. Patricia grabs her daughter and holds her so tight the girl gasps. Chidi makes one more phone call. He speaks in Igbo, fast and desperate. When he hangs up, he tells Patricia to pack a bag. We're leaving. Tonight, I have a place in Dubai. We can disappear there until this blows over. What about Dubem? I'm handling it. I'm giving them something worth more than the shipment. Information about a competitor's operations. They'll take the deal and release our son. They don't leave that night. At 4:17 a.m., Dubem is returned. A car pulls up, the door opens, and their 12-year-old son stumbles out, unharmed but silent. He doesn't speak for 3 days. When he finally does, he tells them about the room they kept him in, the men who stood guard, the way they talked about his father, like he was already dead. Patricia makes a decision. She can't live like this. She won't raise her children in this darkness. But she also knows too much now to just walk away. If she divorces Chidi, what happens? Does she become a liability? Do the men with guns come for her? So she starts planning, quietly, carefully. She begins learning about Chidi's business. Not the illegal parts he still tries to hide, but the legitimate fronts, the hotels, the real estate holdings, the investments. She realizes something crucial. Most of the assets are in her name. Chidi did it years ago for tax purposes, for legal protection. If the authorities ever came after him, the properties couldn't be seized because technically Patricia owned them. She starts documenting everything, taking photos of documents when Chidi is traveling, recording conversations, building a case not for the police, but for a divorce lawyer. She needs leverage. She needs to walk away with enough money to disappear, to take her children somewhere safe, somewhere the violence can't follow. It takes 7 years. 7 years of pretending everything is fine while her marriage rots from the inside. 7 years of sleeping next to a man she no longer knows. 7 years of playing the perfect billionaire's wife while secretly meeting with lawyers, accountants, investigators. Chidi becomes more reckless, more desperate. The legitimate businesses start struggling because he's using them to launder money from operations that keep getting more dangerous. He makes enemies, powerful enemies, men who run syndicates across 3 continents, men who don't accept excuses or apologies. In 2021, Chidi has a heart attack. He's only 53 years old. The doctors say it's stress. Patricia knows it's fear. Fear that lives in his body like a parasite, eating him from the inside. He recovers, but he's weaker, slower. He starts drinking heavily. He stops hiding his affairs with younger women who don't ask questions about where the money comes from. Patricia files for divorce in October 2022. She doesn't tell him she's doing it. Her lawyer serves him the papers at his office. She asks for everything, every asset in her name, every property, every business. She has documentation proving that while the assets are in her name, she contributed to building the empire through her role as his wife, his partner, his public face. Chidi fights her. Of course he fights her. They spend 5 months in court. He brings lawyers who cost 50 million naira. But Patricia has something better than expensive lawyers. She has the truth about where the money came from, and she quietly lets Chidi know that if he doesn't settle, if he doesn't let her walk away clean, she'll tell the authorities everything she knows. It's not a bluff. She has documents. She has recordings. She has enough evidence to put him in prison for the rest of his life. On March 15, 2023, the judge rules in her favor. Patricia gets everything. Chidi walks out of the courthouse with nothing but his clothes and whatever money he has hidden in offshore accounts Patricia couldn't trace. She thinks she's won. She thinks she's finally free. She takes her children, books, tickets to London where Amara is studying, and prepares to start over. A clean life, a legitimate life. Money from the hotels and real estate, enough to live comfortably without ever touching anything connected to Chidi's criminal empire. But 3 days after the divorce is finalized, Patricia receives a package at her hotel room in Echo Hotel, where she's staying while arranging the move. Inside is a phone, just a phone. It rings at exactly midnight. She answers. The voice on the other end is calm, professional, cold as a morgue. Mrs. Okonkwo, or should I say, Miss Adeyemi now. Congratulations on your divorce. You took everything from Chidi, which means you took everything from us. The hotels where we store shipments, the warehouses where we process goods, the accounts we use for transfers, the land where we bury problems. All of it now belongs to you, which means all of Chidi's debts now belong to you. He owes us 470 million naira. You have 30 days to pay. Welcome to the family business. The line goes dead. Patricia drops the phone. Her hands won't stop shaking. In the bathroom mirror, she sees her own face staring back, pale and terrified, and understands with perfect, horrible clarity what she's done. She didn't escape the darkness. She didn't win anything. She just inherited hell itself, wrapped in deeds and contracts and court orders, and there is absolutely nowhere to run. Patricia doesn't sleep that night. She sits on the hotel bed, staring at the anonymous phone until sunrise bleeds through the curtains. At 6:23 a.m., she calls her lawyer, Edmund Nwachukwu, the man who helped her win everything. His voice is thick with sleep when he answers. Patricia? What's wrong? The divorce. The assets. You said everything was clean. You said the hotels and properties were legitimate businesses. A pause. Too long. They are legitimate businesses. Registered, licensed, taxed. But what are they being used for? Another pause. Edmund clears his throat. Patricia, I'm a divorce lawyer. I don't ask those kinds of questions. I got you what you were entitled to. What your husband does with his properties, what he did with them before they became yours, that's not my concern. Someone called me. They say Chidi owes them money. They say I inherited his debts. Edmund is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks again, his voice has changed. It's careful now, distant. I can't help you with that. I suggest you contact law enforcement if you're being threatened. Edmund, please. I have to go. Don't call me about this again. He hangs up. Patricia sits there holding a dead phone, understanding that she's completely alone. Edmund knows. He probably knew from the beginning. He took her money, won her case, and now he's washing his hands of what comes after. The next call comes at 8 a.m. Different voice. Same message. We need to meet. Today, noon. The Amara Grand Hotel. Your hotel. Ask for Mr. Taiwo at the front desk. Come alone. If you bring police or try to run, your daughter in London receives a visit. We know her address. We know her class schedule. We know the coffee shop she goes to every Tuesday morning. Patricia's blood turns cold. She wants to vomit but forces it down. I'll be there. She spends the next 3 hours researching. She uses her laptop to dig through files Chidi left on their shared cloud storage. Files she never bothered looking at during the marriage. What she finds makes her wish she'd never opened them. Shipping manifests with weights that don't match declared contents. Payment records from shell companies in Panama and the Cayman Islands. Photos of warehouse interiors with crates stamped with pharmaceutical companies that don't exist. Guest logs from the hotels showing rooms booked for weeks at a time, but never cleaned, never entered by housekeeping. The hotels aren't hotels. They're storage facilities, distribution hubs. The Amara Grand near the airport processes shipments coming into Nigeria. The second hotel in Abuja handles transfers heading north to Niger and Chad. The real estate, those acres and acres of land, some of it has underground storage built into the foundation, hidden beneath legitimate construction projects. Patricia closes the laptop. She's not just a billionaire's ex-wife. She's a drug lord, a weapons trafficker, a criminal enterprise operator. And she never fired a shot, never touched a package, never even knew what she was part of. At 11:47 a.m., Patricia walks into the Amara Grand Hotel. It's strange seeing her daughter's name on the building now, knowing what it really is. The lobby is elegant. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, guest checking in with rolling suitcases, business people having meetings over coffee. Everything looks normal. Everything looks clean. She approaches the front desk. I'm here to see Mr. Taiwo. The clerk, a young woman with neat braids, doesn't even check a computer. Penthouse suite. He's expecting you. The elevator ride to the top floor feels like descending into deep water. Patricia's ears pop. Her chest tightens. The doors open onto a private hallway with only one door. It's already open. Inside, the penthouse is nothing like the guest rooms below. No furniture, no decoration, just a large empty space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lagos. 3 men wait for her. The one in the center sits in the only chair, a simple plastic chair that looks out of place in the expensive room. He's older, maybe 60, with gray hair and a face that reveals nothing. Mrs. Okonkwo. Sit. There's nowhere to sit. Patricia remains standing. I want to talk to Chidi. Chidi is gone. Left the country yesterday. Dubai, we think. Maybe further. He's smart enough to know he can't help you, and he's too much of a coward to face what he built. The man stands. He's shorter than Patricia expected. My name is irrelevant. What matters is what you now own. Your ex-husband was careless. He lost shipments. He talked too much. He made promises he couldn't keep. He accumulated debts he can't pay. 470 million naira, plus interest. I don't have that kind of cash. No, but you have assets worth 10 times that. Hotels, land, businesses. You have options. Patricia's throat is dry. I won those in a divorce. I didn't know what they were being used for. I'm not part of this. The man smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. But you are. The moment the judge signed those papers, you became part of this. The shipments don't stop because you got divorced. The contracts don't dissolve because you filed papers. We have partners in 7 countries who depend on the infrastructure your husband built. Infrastructure you now control. I'll sell everything. Give you the money. I just want out. Selling takes time, and it draws attention. Investigators asking questions. Buyers doing due diligence. No, you'll keep operating. You'll honor your husband's commitments, and you'll pay down the debt over time. I don't know how to do any of this. You'll learn, or you'll die. Those are your options. He walks to the window, looking out over the city. We're not unreasonable people. We're business people. You do your job, we do ours. Everyone makes money. Everyone stays alive. It's simple. And if I go to the police? The man doesn't turn around. Then you confess to running a criminal enterprise, because that's what you do now. You're the owner, the operator, the boss. Police find one shipment in one of your hotels. You go to prison. And your children, Amara, Dubem, they become orphans, vulnerable, alone. Do you know what happens to the children of people who betray us? Patricia feels tears burning in her eyes but refuses to let them fall. How do I pay down the debt? You keep the operations running. The hotels stay open for business, regular business, and our business. You maintain the properties. You don't ask questions about what gets stored where. Every month, you'll receive instructions. Follow them exactly. For each successful operation, we'll deduct 20 million from your debt. In 2 years, maybe less if you're efficient, you'll be free. 2 years, 730 days of being a criminal, of facilitating whatever horrors move through those hotels and warehouses. Patricia thinks about running, taking her children and disappearing to some country without extradition. But she's not stupid. These people found Amara in London. They can find anyone, anywhere. I need protection, Patricia says. If I'm doing this, I need guarantees. What's to stop some competitor from coming after me like they came after Chidi? You work for us now. That's your protection. Anyone touches you, they answer to us. The man finally turns from the window. But if you fail, if you steal, if you talk to anyone about this arrangement, that protection disappears. Understood? Patricia nods. She can barely breathe. Good. Someone will contact you tomorrow with your first task. Welcome to your new career, Mrs. Okonkwo. Patricia leaves the penthouse in a daze. She sits in her car in the hotel parking lot for 20 minutes before she can make her hands stop shaking enough to drive. She thinks about her daughter in London, studying international relations, dreaming of working for the UN. She thinks about Dubem, 17 now, applying to universities in America. She thinks about the life she wanted when she was 24, working as a secretary, wearing the same 3 dresses, dreaming of having enough. She got more than enough. She got everything. And everything is destroying her. That night, Patricia calls Chitty's phone. It goes straight to voicemail. She tries 4 more times. Nothing. He's really gone. He built this trap and ran away, leaving her locked inside. The next morning, a different phone arrives. This one has a single contact labeled Warehouse Manager. At exactly 10 a.m., it rings. There's a shipment arriving at a Papa port tonight. Container number GCTU4 521876. It needs to be picked up and stored at the Amara Grand Basement Storage. You have the keys. The night manager knows what to do. You just need to sign the authorization papers and stay out of the way. What's in the container? Does it matter? Patricia closes her eyes. No. Smart woman. This is your first test. Don't fail. The line goes dead. Patricia sits in her hotel room with her head in her hands. She could run. She could take her children and disappear. But where? And for how long? These people have reach, resources, patience. They've been doing this for decades, moving through the world like sharks in deep water. Or she could go to the police. But then she's confessing to crimes. She'd lose everything. Her children would be devastated. And there's no guarantee the authorities could protect her from retaliation. Witness protection in Nigeria? It's barely functional. People disappear even in police custody. So Patricia does the only thing she can do. She goes to the hotel that evening. She signs the papers. She watches as men in work uniforms bring crates down to the basement storage. She doesn't ask what's inside. She doesn't look too closely. She just plays her part and then goes home. This is her life now. This is what winning looks like. Over the next 3 weeks, Patricia receives 17 calls, 17 tasks. Most are simple. Sign papers, authorize access, transfer money between accounts. But some are darker. She has to fire hotel staff who ask too many questions. She has to meet with men whose eyes are cold and empty. She has to lie to her children about why she's not moving to London yet, making excuses about business complications. Amara calls from England, concerned. "Mum, what's going on? You sound different." "Just tired, sweetheart. The divorce was exhausting. I need a few more weeks to settle things here. You won, though. That's what matters. You got away from Dad, and you're safe now." Safe? Patricia almost laughs. "Yes, darling, I'm safe." But she's not safe. She'll never be safe again. And on April 7th, 2023, 23 days after she walked out of that courthouse thinking she'd won, Patricia receives a call that changes everything one more time. "We have a problem," the voice says. "One of our competitors knows about your operation. They're planning a raid on the Amara Grand tomorrow night. You need to move the current shipment before then. All of it. 60 crates. You have 18 hours. Where do I move it to? That's your problem. Figure it out. If those crates get seized, if anything leads back to us, your debt doesn't get paid. It doubles. And your children? The protection ends." Patricia hangs up and screams into her pillow until her throat is raw. 60 crates. 18 hours. She has no idea how to move that much product. She doesn't know who to call. She doesn't know who to trust. And if she fails, everything, absolutely everything gets worse. And Patricia finally realizes that the nightmare she's living has no bottom, no end, just deeper and deeper levels of hell she keeps falling through. Patricia stands in the basement of the Amara Grand Hotel at 2:37 a.m., staring at 60 wooden crates stacked against concrete walls. Each crate is marked with innocent labels: medical supplies, industrial equipment, educational materials, all lies. She knows what's really inside because one crate cracked open during transport last week, and she saw the vacuum-sealed packages, the white powder, the weapons wrapped in oilcloth. 18 hours is now down to 15. She's spent the last 3 hours making calls to people whose numbers appeared in Chidi's old files. Half don't answer. The others hang up when they realize she's not Chidi. She's nobody to them. Just a woman who inherited problems she can't solve. At 3:15 a.m., Patricia does something desperate. She calls the one person she swore she'd never contact again. The phone rings 7 times before a groggy voice answers. "Do you know what time it is?" "Uncle Festus. I need help." Silence. Then, "Patricia, why are you calling me at this hour?" Uncle Festus isn't really her uncle. He's her father's cousin, a man who worked for years in customs at a Papa port before retiring under mysterious circumstances in 2018. Her father always said Festus knew how to make problems disappear at the port. Patricia never asked what that meant. Now she needs to know. "I have 60 crates that need to move tonight. From the Amara Grande to somewhere safe. Somewhere hidden. Can you help me?" Another long silence. "Patricia, what have you gotten yourself into?" "Please, I can't explain. But if these crates don't move in the next 14 hours, my children are in danger." She hears him breathing, thinking, how big are these crates? Standard shipping size. Maybe 1 meter by ½ meter? That's a lot of volume. You need trucks. You need a destination. You need people who don't ask questions. He pauses. And you need money. 50 million naira. Cash. Patricia's stomach drops. "I don't have that kind of cash available right now." "Then I can't help you." Wait. I can get it. I can wire transfer. No transfers. No records. Cash only. You bring it to me by 8 a.m. I can make this happen. Otherwise, good luck." He hangs up. Patricia wants to cry, but there's no time. 50 million naira in cash. The banks won't open until 9 a.m. Even then, withdrawing that much at once will trigger alerts, reports, attention she can't afford. But she owns hotels. Hotels have safes. Hotels keep cash on hand for emergencies, for paying casual staff, for situations that can't wait for bank transfers. Patricia calls the night manager at her second hotel in Victoria Island. "Mrs. Okonkwo, is everything all right? I need you to open the main safe. Count everything inside. Call me back with the exact amount. Ma, the safe requires 2 signatures to open. Hotel policy, I own the hotel. Open the safe. Now." 10 minutes later, he calls back. 19,400,000 naira, ma. Not enough. Patricia calls the manager at a third property, a smaller guest house in Ikea she barely remembers acquiring. That safe holds 8 million. Still not enough. She goes through Chidi's old files on her laptop, searching for any other cash sources. There's a notation about a storage unit in Festac, something about emergency funds. She drives through empty Lego streets at 4:30 a.m. The storage facility is the kind of place that doesn't ask questions. She has a key on Chidi's old keychain, Unit 47. She unlocks it and finds a metal trunk. Inside are stacks of naira notes, dollars, euros. She doesn't count it. She just loads it all into garbage bags and throws them in her trunk. By 7:45 a.m., Patricia is sitting in Uncle Festus's living room in Satellite Town with 3 large bags containing roughly 63 million naira in mixed currency. He counts it carefully, making notes. His wife watches from the kitchen doorway, her face tight with worry. "This is dirty money," Festus says quietly. "You know that, right? You've crossed a line you can't uncross." "I crossed that line the day I married Chidi. I just didn't know it yet." Festus nods slowly. "The crates. What's in them?" "I don't know. I don't want to know." "Smart." He stands, pocketing a thick stack of bills. "I have a warehouse in Badagry, near the border. Isolated. No neighbors. The crates can stay there for 2 weeks, maybe 3. After that, you need a permanent solution." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just remember, you're in the life now. My life. Your father would die if he knew what you'd become." Patricia's father is already dead. Heart attack in 2019. Maybe that's a blessing. At least he never saw this. Festus makes calls. By 10 a.m., 2 trucks arrive at the Amara Grande's service entrance. 6 men work fast, loading crates without speaking. By 11:30 a.m., the basement is empty. By 1 p.m., Festus texts her a photo. The crates are stacked in his Badagry warehouse, covered with tarps. Patricia collapses on her hotel bed. She's been awake for 34 hours straight. Her hands shake from too much coffee and too much fear. But she did it. She moved the shipment. She passed the test. The phone rings at 2 p.m. Efficient, the voice says. We're impressed. The debt is now $450 million. Keep performing like this. You'll be free sooner than you think. Patricia ends the call and stares at the ceiling. 20 million off the debt. 450 million to go. At this rate, she'll need 23 more operations, 23 more chances to fail, 23 more opportunities for everything to collapse. But something shifts in Patricia during those desperate hours. A realization: these people need her. The infrastructure Chidi built, the network of properties and connections, it's valuable. They can't just kill her and take it over. Everything is in her name, legally. Courts, contracts, deeds. If she dies, the assets get frozen in probate. Investigations happen. Attention comes. She has leverage. Not much, but some. Over the next 4 months, Patricia stops being a victim and starts being a strategist. She learns the business. She reads Chidi's old files thoroughly, understanding the networks, the contacts, the methods. She starts making changes. Small ones at first. She fires the hotel night manager, who knows too much, and replaces him with someone loyal to her. She renegotiates agreements with the trucking companies that move shipments, getting better rates. She even identifies inefficiencies in the operations and suggests improvements. The calls start changing. You have ideas about the distribution route? Tell us. Patricia does. She suggests using her third property, a building she never paid attention to, as a secondary storage facility. It reduces exposure at the main hotels, decreases risk. The people on the other end of the phone are quiet for a moment, then agree. By August 2023, Patricia isn't just following orders. She's participating, making decisions, becoming what she never imagined. Competent at crime. Her debt drops to 320 million naira, then 290 million. The operations run smoother. Fewer problems, more profit. And Patricia realizes something terrifying. She's good at this. The same skills that made her a perfect billionaire's wife: attention to detail, social intelligence, the ability to project respectability while hiding truth, make her an effective criminal operator. But success brings new problems. Other players in the network notice her. Not everyone is happy about a woman running what used to be Chidi's territory. In September, someone tries to hijack one of her shipments. The truck gets stopped on the Benin-Lagos road. Armed men try to take the cargo. The call comes at midnight. We have a situation. 5 men tried to rob your truck. They failed. We have them. What do you want us to do with them? Patricia's mouth goes dry. What are my options? Lesson or elimination? She knows what that means. Lesson means they live, but they suffer. Elimination means they disappear. Either way, she's ordering violence. She's authorizing something that will haunt her forever. I need to know who sent them, Patricia says, her voice surprisingly steady. Find out who's behind this. Then lesson. I want them to send a message back to whoever hired them. This territory is protected. 3 days later, she gets a report. The men talked. They were hired by a competitor, someone trying to move into Lagos operations. Someone who thinks Patricia is weak because she's a woman and new to the game. The phone rings. The competitor wants to meet. Negotiate boundaries. You interested? Patricia shouldn't be interested. She should be trying to get out, not get deeper. But something has changed inside her. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's survival instinct. Maybe it's the realization that if she's going to be forced into this life, she might as well own it. Set up the meeting. Neutral location. I'll be there. The meeting happens in October at a private room in a restaurant in Lekki. The competitor is a man named Gabriel, mid-40s. Expensive suit. The kind of person who looks like a legitimate businessman. He probably is. On paper, most criminals are. Gabriel smiles when Patricia walks in. The famous Mrs. Okonkwo. Or are you back to Adeyemi now? What do you want? Direct. I like that. Here's the situation. Your husband built a good network, but he was sloppy, made enemies, left debts. Now you're trying to hold it together, but you're in over your head. I'm offering you a way out. Sell me your operations. The hotels, the warehouses, the distribution network. I'll pay fair market value for the legitimate businesses, and I'll take over the debt you owe to our mutual associates. You walk away clean. It's tempting. So tempting Patricia can taste it. Freedom. An escape. Return to being just a wealthy divorcee with legitimate assets. But she knows it's not that simple. What's the catch? Gabriel leans back in his chair. No catch. I'm being generous. But this is a one-time offer. You say no. You're on your own. And Patricia, this business eats people like you. Women who think they can play in a man's world. You're doing okay now, but eventually you'll make a mistake. Eventually, something will go wrong. And when it does, you'll wish you'd taken my offer. Patricia looks at him for a long moment. She thinks about her children, about Amara in London, Dubem in his final year of secondary school, about the life she wanted versus the life she has, about what it means to be free versus what it means to be safe. No, she says. Gabriel's smile disappears. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But they're my mistakes to make. This network is mine. The debt is mine. And I'm going to finish what I started. She stands and walks out. Her legs shake, but she doesn't let it show. Behind her, she hears Gabriel say something to his associates. She can't make out the words, but the tone is clear. Threat. Promise. War. Patricia gets in her car and sits there for 5 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. What has she done? She just turned down an escape. She just committed to this life. Not just until the debt is paid, but beyond that. Because now she has an enemy. Now she has something to prove. The phone rings. Different number. Voice she doesn't recognize. We heard about your meeting with Gabriel. Heard you turned him down. That took courage. Or stupidity. We're curious which one. A pause. There's an opportunity. Bigger than what you've been handling. Much bigger. More risk, but much more reward. Interested? Patricia closes her eyes. This is the moment. The real moment of choice. Say no. Stay small. Pay down the debt slowly. Say yes. Dive deeper. Maybe get free faster. Or maybe drown completely. Tell me about it. Patricia hears herself say. And just like that, on October 23rd, 2023, 7 months after walking out of that courthouse, thinking she'd won everything, Patricia Adeyemi stops being a reluctant criminal and becomes something much more dangerous, a willing one. And the real horror of her situation isn't what she's become, but how easy it was to become it.